Are you looking for the best SSDs? In this video we will look at some of the 5 best SSDs on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Starting at number 1. Samsung 990 Pro. For most people, graduating to a PCIe 5.0 drive is going to be complete overkill. You need top-end hardware for them to even be compatible, and the real-world performance difference just isn't going to be worth the premium you're going to pay for it. However, if you still want top-end performance, go with the Samsung 990 Pro. In all of my SSD testing, I haven't found a single PCIe 4.0 drive that can beat its performance, and I've used a lot of PCIe 4.0 SSDs. Samsung claims that the 990 Pro can reach up to 7,450 megabytes per second sequential read speeds, but when I benchmarked it, I found that it actually beat that, reaching 7,475 megabytes per second in Crystal Disk Mark. Combine that with blistering write speeds, and this is an SSD that creatives are going to love. The random reads/writes are top-end as well, making the Samsung 990 Pro an awesome SSD for elite gaming rigs, too. The Samsung 990 Pro is also compatible with PS5, and its speeds make it one of the best PS5 SSDs, but you will need to fork over an extra $20 to get the version with a heatsink, or you can just use a discrete heatsink if that's your style. At number 2. Crucial MX500. These days, if you just need an SSD and you don't have a lot of cash, there are just so many options out there. However, many cheap SSDs are a complete waste of money, and will leave you needing to fork over more money for a new one in just a couple of years. The Crucial MX500, on the other hand, has been my go-to drive for budget builds for years, even if it doesn't have the endurance of a more expensive SSD. In general, getting a budget SSD is going to be an exercise in compromise between 3 qualities: capacity, speed, and endurance. More often than not, cheaper SSDs, including the Crucial MX500, are going to compromise on endurance, rather than capacity or speed. This is largely because you're not going to be using this drive for industrial workloads, so the need for thousands of terabytes of endurance is just non-existent. Instead, the Crucial MX500 is perfect for anyone that just needs a cheap SSD to throw into their laptop or gaming PC and install Windows and a few games. Most people will never reach the 180 TBW endurance rating, at least not for years. And in the meantime, you have a solid little SATA SSD that'll speed up your load times in your favorite games. At number 3. Piney XLR8CS3140. The PNY XLR8CS3140 is an absolute workhorse of an SSD, and while it may have been a little on the expensive side a couple of years ago, it's extremely affordable these days. But don't let the age fool you. This SSD has been sitting in my testing PC for nearly 3 years now, surviving through dozens of instances of me reinstalling Windows 11 without showing any signs of slowing down. The warranty claims that my 1 terabyte drive should only last for 700 TBW, or terabytes written, and this is the first drive that I actually might meet that number before I finally replace it. It's just that reliable. But it's more than just an SSD I can count on. Even a few years later, I can put it side by side with a more expensive SSD like the Samsung 990 Pro, and it can nearly keep up. The CS3140 is a bit slower, particularly when it comes to write speeds, but the difference is absolutely not noticeable. You should keep in mind that this is a drive with a lower endurance than a more expensive SSD, and that should absolutely play a role in your decision-making. Particularly if you're doing a lot of storage-intensive work like video editing, this drive might not last a long time. For gamers, however, that 700 TBW for the 1 terabyte model might as well be the sky. If you do want more endurance and you can afford a higher capacity model, you can spring for the 4 terabytes model, where the endurance gets bumped up to 3000 TBW. This is simply because there are more NAND chips on the SSD, so if 1 or 2 burn out, the drive will still be usable. At number 4. Samsung T9 External SSD. I have always believed that some kind of external SSD or hard drive is necessary for anyone these days. I use my Samsung T9 for everything from moving data between different PCs to backing up my devices before I do something risky with them. The Samsung T9 is great for all of those things, and does so in a package that fits in any of my bags, no matter how small. Because the Samsung T9 connects to your PC or laptop using USB 3.2, it is quite a bit slower than any internal M.2 drive will be, especially if your computer's USB-C slot does not support the latest USB standard. However, it's still going to be a good deal faster than any thumb drive or portable hard drive. With external drives like the T9, security is also a big deal. You don't want to forget your drive on the coffee shop table and let a stranger have access to all of your data, after all. Luckily, the Samsung's portable SSDs have always had solid security features, and the Samsung T9 will let you encrypt your data and protect it behind a password, stopping anyone unwanted from getting access. At number 5. Crucial P310 2230. For the longest time, there wasn't much of a reason to grab an M.2 2230 drive. They're smaller than the standard 2280 M.2 drives, but you do lose a bit of performance, meaning even laptops don't typically run 2230 drives. However, now that the Steam Deck and other handheld gaming PCs are blowing up in popularity, the need for fast 2230 drives has never been greater. Luckily, the Crucial P310 is an awesome drive for anyone that wants to give their Steam Deck an upgrade. This is a PCIe 4.0 drive that can theoretically reach up to 6,000 megabytes per second read speeds. However, in my testing, the P310 actually exceeded Crucial's claims, reaching up to 6,442 megabytes per second. That's fast enough for the PS5, and is way faster than the Steam Deck SSD, which only supports PCIe 3.0 speeds. That does mean if you put it in your Steam Deck, you will lose out on some performance, but because PCIe 4.0 drives are backwards compatible, it's still one of the best drives for the handheld gaming PC. There are handheld gaming PCs out there that can take advantage of the Crucial P310's extra speed, however. Both the Asus ROG Ally and the MSI Claw use AM.2 2230 PCIe 4.0 drive, which makes the P310 an awesome upgrade for those systems as well. You can also chuck this into any gaming tower with an M.2 slot, but most people will be better off with a full-size 2280 drive.